Hey guys, John here. It has been a couple days since my last upload. Sorry about that. I had some friends visiting over the past couple days, and I was entertaining them and doing a lot of gaming and a lot of stuff with them. So I didn't get to do my updates every day. I'm gonna cover a couple. I'm gonna cover today's prompt for RPG a day and the past 2 days. Um, so without further ado, let's get into it. Day 10 was a. Day 10's prompt was, what do you want to, an RPG you want to see on television or TV? Which I guess we would also extrapolate that into streaming network shows. Um, I don't, I don't really know. I think there are a couple campaigns a couple games I'd like to see on television. I'd like to see more kind of, yeah, what we would call Cthulhu Mythos kind of investigation shows along the lines of True Detective. Uh, Maybe tying it more into kind of a Delta Green vibe, so a bit more X Files, but more, and a bit more about like going the True Detective route of kind of looking at the investigators and what the case does to them and their sanity. But on that note, I also have I can also go watch True Detective if I want that. So really, we're kind of at a choice boards in terms of media that represents our favorite games. You want Star Wars, you can get Star Wars. You want superheroes, you can get superheroes. Star Trek, Star Trek. On the television note, I would look at television shows and kind of take some of that framework and put it into your games. Uh, Past my two of my best campaigns I recently ran were one game that I used the BRP system, so the Call of Cthulhu D100 system, to run basically the TV show Rockford Files. I was watching, and yes, some of you are like, man, this guy knows what the Rockford Files are, but which is a James Gardner detective show from the late '70s, early '80s. But I was watching a couple episodes of that on a rerun on some streaming service, and I was just like, I wonder if I could run this as a campaign. And I kind of started putting it together, and some of my favorite moments are in that. I mean, I had a player character that had the climax of the scenario shoot a plane down with his handgun, rolling, of course, a not one, a critical success. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful. The second game I ran that I've mentioned before was my Fate game. Uh, it was my Flash Gordon inspired game, and that I just said, well, what if I made a Flash Gordon Buck Rogers serial? What if I turned that into a game? How could I run that? So I was thinking, okay, how could I turn this into something else? That became more of an exercise of, okay, well, what makes a good serial? What makes good television? Well, it's the suspense, right? Especially in old adventures, in old adventure serials, it's the cliffhanger. And I tried really hard to have cliffhangers at the end of sessions. Sometimes they were suspenseful, and other times they were just, well, what do we do now? Be sure to tune in next week. And I even did a whole little actual play reports where I wrote up, where I wrote up a character. Like I wrote up a little character named Gracie Wilkins who is listening, like basically is listening to our campaign as a radio show in the 30s. And that was fun. I had a ball writing that up and writing those little framing devices. Um, Television, I think we're at a choice board of what we want on television. But I definitely take kind of those elements of television writing and put it into your RPGs, because very much television is a lot like RPGs. Every week you got something. On that note, let's move on to game on our day 11, which was games about one shots. Games with well supported one shots. I use modules quite a lot, honestly. I generally run a lot of weekly sessions, not shows, um, and weekly games. So I'm always looking for something. That's where I use scenarios. Scenarios are my ideas. Just like I may look to television as an example, I may look at scenarios, for example. Some of the best supported stuff I have found is for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, particularly the stuff Goodman Games has written. Their 5th edition fantasy, it's really solid adventures that you can just slot into your existing campaigns. You don't need to like run them, and you can kind of tweak them as you need be. And that's for a one shot or working it into a side track as a campaign. That's the thing. You need to be able to tweak things. One reason why I love published scenarios is, and why I have so many of them, like most of my shelf behind me, is published scenarios. I love them because I've done a little bit of musicianship in high school. I played trombone and I played jazz. I love jazz, and a big thing about jazz is you have one chart that it can vary between play styles. Each, play sessions. Every jazz piece is played slightly different, and I very much see scenarios the same way. That's your jazz chart, and my running of Expedition to the Barrier Peaks will be different from my buddy Fry's. My run of Masks and Nyarlathotep will be different than, say, how Sandy Peterson would run that. So yeah, I love campaigns. I love published scenarios, published one-shots. Goodman Games' 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons scenarios, 5th edition fantasy, are awesome. I love them. I've loved every one that I've picked up. I don't have them all, but I love them all. Every one I've picked up, at least. Another game with well-supported one-shots, Call of Cthulhu. Just most of what I have there on that shelf. That's Call of Cthulhu, that middle shelf. That's current stuff, current edition stuff, older stuff from the 90s, even got a couple things from the 80s there. So, very early on, and they are just fun. I mean, a lot of them. They're really great. They're easy to convert. You really just have to times statistics by 5, which you can do in advance. I recommend it, particularly if you're not as strong in the maths department as I am. But you could easily, if you're better at math than I am, which isn't much, you can rework it as you need be. My Day 12 comes with support, well-supported campaigns. Once again, Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu, Delta Green. You've got some of the best campaigns ever written for tabletop role-playing games. For Call of Cthulhu, you have Larry DiTilio's Masks and Nyarlathotep, a game that literally says you want to do the Indiana Jones redlining thing, going around the world trying to save the world. There you go. There's Masks and Nyarlathotep. We're on the Orient Express, also behind me. You want to travel on the Orient Express in post-World War I Europe? There you go, and uncover this massive mystery/conspiracy that's unfolded throughout centuries of Europe. It's great. As well as it's supported not just, they've put out new editions of it, and it's available for you to get online through Drive-Thru RPG, through the Miskatonic repository. You also have just communities that have sprouted up to help you run those and facilitate those games. And find your own way of what to influence. So much of published campaigns, we make the mistake of playing them straight, running them exactly as written in the book. And then there are things that, sure, run how they are in the book, but especially when we get into larger campaign box sets, you gotta add things in. It's okay to have a side trek where you go investigate some vampire lore, vampire legends in Eastern Europe. It's okay for that. Especially in Horror on the Orient Express, the timeline is it's not as strict as other campaigns. There's no stars are right. We have to do it at this ticket clock. The scenario itself gives you a ticket clock. But even my friend Fry, on his TikTok today for day 12 for well-supported campaigns, and yeah, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is well supported. You can get older books. We can talk about, to not get into kind of the what's permitted on the DM's Guild in terms of original content, those licensing things, but you can get stuff and you can put it on free, and there are fan communities out there. Things are out there at your fingertips. Fry mentioned in his video of a friend that has been working on Red Steel stuff. Well, that's me. I have loved the Red Steel setting for so long, and I just, I'm gonna make it myself, and kind of making this weird Cronenberg fantasy swashbuckling thing, and it's been fun. It's been fun jiving my creativity, going back and rewatching Zorro and Musketeers and Robin Hood, and why I love sword fights so much, and what really distills them down in kind of, once again, kind of as I started, borrowing what makes things work in television and film and bringing it into our RPG space and telling some really awesome stories. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry if this was a bit of a ramble, but it is what it is. I just want to get caught up on these things. Some of the other prompt, like the accessory prompt for, I think it was day 9 accessory that I really want, I really don't have an answer for that. I don't really need anything else other than my dice, my pen and paper, and my books, and my friends. Anyway, you guys have a good evening, and I'll see you in the next one.